Let's do it. Alrighty, here we go. My name is Marty Fox from WHITEFOX. Now, here's the deal.
The first WTF.
Here we are.
With the Fox.
A while in the making.
It is a while in the making. We've talked about doing a podcast for many, many years, and now we're finally doing it. And this is, the great thing about it is it's going to evolve. We'll look back at this first episode and think, look at this, look at these two young bucks. But...
Well, you're grey.
Well, I'm going to only go grey. I'm working with you, mate. But in terms of what this is, I think it's a great opportunity to sit down and get into the head, because when you talk, people listen. That's the starting point. But also, you're very good at talking off the cuff. You have this ability to process information and then articulate it in a way that's very absorbable. So this is the perfect opportunity to get what is in your head, because a lot of what you try and teach, it's just in there, right? You've got catalogues of information. As far as anyone I've ever met, I would say you're the best catalogued brain. Is that something you're aware of in the way that your brain works?
Not really, but I mean, I do retain information. It's funny. Sometimes it's very specific and detailed, and sometimes I'll forget some of the most basic memories. So for me, if I love it and I enjoy it and I think it's of value, I'll retain it. And I actually love sharing my experiences, my knowledge, my ideas. If it helps somebody else, amazing. So we have wanted to do this for years, but it's never been something that we've actually sat down and never tried. And, I think being with you, we've always gelled. It's going to be fun. I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, it's also an opportunity because you are also connected to a lot of people, a lot of high profile people across a range of industries. So not just real estate, in terms of property development, investment, and even, in other sectors as well. So
I'm also friends with a lot of people that aren't successful. Well, and I get a lot from them.
But with stories to tell, right? So we'll get them in. This will be something very interesting. But just to start with episode 1, let's talk about, you said you love sharing this knowledge. So you're almost a year or just over a year into being a CEO now, which is a very different thing to being a leader. When you're a lister and a seller, you're the founder of the company, you're part of the fabric of it. But now you're at the top of the tree leading and developing the business and trying to grow it. How's that year been? Tell us about what that year's been like and how it's changed you.
So the year of the transition was extremely difficult, and it was brought on by having pericarditis. So I had these pains in my chest. I remember I was driving along Beach Road, going through Elwood, Marine Parade, and I said to Charlotte, had the kids in the back, and I said...
The most appropriate side.
How's that? Ambulance. So I said to her, Bob, I think I'm having a heart attack. And she said, Marty, you're having a panic attack. And I was like, Charlotte, I haven't had panic attacks for years. And she said, no, you're having a panic attack. And anyway, we're probably 5 minutes from being at home. We finally got home, and I was sort of like breathing in, and I felt the pinch, and I thought, shit, this isn't like your normal gym, like chest pain. This is actually heart pain. So I went upstairs, I laid down, and I thought, I'm gonna FaceTime Mum. And this is when we were living in Middle Park. And I FaceTimed Mum. I was laying on my back, held the phone up, and she said, what's wrong? I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And she goes, call the ambulance right now. She could see in my eyes and in my face, something was just off. So I called the ambulance. I said, look, I think I'm having a heart attack. And they were there, honestly, within a few minutes. They knocked on the door and Charlotte was all confused. She was like, what are you doing here? And they're like, we're here to see Marty Fox. And they came upstairs. Charlotte was all panicking. So I didn't even have the strength to yell out, because I was like, I actually don't want to die. So it was really like I properly was shitting my pants. And they did the ECG, and then they said, we got to get you out of here. So something was off. Yep. Charlotte being an ex-cardiothoracic nurse at the Alfred, was like, oh shit. Like, she actually felt really bad saying I was having a panic attack. So long story short, that was the start of me not being able to work for 3 months. Mm-hmm. So I had really bad pericarditis, not vaccine related. I was actually unvaxxed at that point in time, unfortunately. And yeah, I had 3 months, and I was at the busiest I had probably ever been. Most amount of staff, most amount of deals, highest GCI, all those sorts of things. I was at the top of my game, and I really leaned on the people within the business, particularly on deal facing work, Lana Samuels, Mike DiCarzio, Pete Service. And they stepped up to the plate to look after not only my clients, but to look after the day-to-day operations of the business so that I could rest. what ended up happening through that rest period was another conversation with Rory where we said, to be honest, I don't want to be the CEO of Marty Fox. I want to be the CEO of, I don't want to be the CFO of Marty Fox. I want to be the CFO of a big organization, something that's, really going global. And we didn't have New Zealand at the time. We had a couple of offices in Melbourne, and by getting sick, it gave me the chance to sit back and assess, get out of the deal, look at the business on top, and think of how to get myself out of it. And when I came back, I said that I wasn't coming back in the same capacity, that I would be getting off the tools and transitioning into an office job, sitting next to the CFO, and we didn't have a marketing department.
Should we mention you're never at your desk?
I hate being at the desk. It was one of those things where for that first year, the key nugget is that I had an identity crisis. I was lost. I was really, really lost, throwing a lot of things at the wall that I thought I should be doing as a CEO. I thought, I hadn't been mentored by another CEO before. Yeah. And I know that even you suggested that I should get mentored from a CEO, but I knew that any CEO that I'd come across wouldn't understand agency. Agents are very different types of beasts. They're also different. They're driven by different things. They're energy traders.
Yep.
So if their energy's off, they really struggle to perform. I don't know one successful real estate agent that is operating at a high level with bad energy. Haven't met one. Don't know any. Can't even refer you to someone that has. So for me, for that first year, whilst it was a really strong year, I personally, internally, felt like a bit of a phony. And I hadn't really grasped what it was that I was doing day to day.
So how do you look at it now? Because from that point to now, it's quite outstanding to think that...
Well, this is now 2 years, this month.
That's what I mean. So that in that time, in the next year, we're talking now a global operation, now an interstate operation in Australia with more to come, and the growth is quite extraordinary in terms of not just the offices, but in terms of an internal head office. You've got an HQ right here, which now looks after multiple offices across a number of destinations. For you now, as that
I feel comfortable
CEO,
now.
Yeah.
I feel like I've earned my stripes. And I think it's really interesting how, why did I put this pressure on myself for a CEO where it was the same pressure of becoming an agent, the same pressure of going to university, the same pressure of going to a new school? Why did I not think that there would be that same amount of pressure of taking on a new position? So I was surprised at the pressure because if you think about it, for 14 years, I was an elite real estate agent. So I professionally had never felt that pressure of being out of my depth. So year one, categorically, out of my depth for a multitude of reasons. How do you build a finance arm? How do you build a marketing department? How do you build a brand interstate? How do you build a brand overseas when you're not present? So all these things I had to learn on the job, and having a really difficult first year and now finishing a really successful second year, but in the most difficult market I've ever seen professionally. So think about that. Second year as a CEO, but the hardest year I've ever seen in real estate. And it was, for me, the best year I've ever had.
Yep. I also think it's not just about the way running the business, it's actually the internals as well, and communication. I reckon you learnt a lot and have actually changed a lot about yourself as well. Because correct me if I'm wrong, as an agent, you were fast moving, you were high energy, you were getting it done, right? You taught Lana those same methods, same with Shaney, some of these agents. And then, of course, you become this leader, or you already were the leader, but you're leader of this organization before you've hit this now mark you're at. And you probably still have that energy of the agent in you, which means let's go, I can call all times, what did you do? And that's a hard thing to get out of, right? Which I think you have changed in this last year. That is definitely something that you've been aware of and you've changed.
There was two key moments in that first year of becoming the CEO. And the two moments were Rory said, let's go for a walk. And we walked around the South Melbourne market. I said, what are we doing? And he said, I don't know if I can work next to someone that has the ability to go off so quick. And again, so much had come from agency. You're constantly on the back foot.
It's fight or flight, isn't it?
It's fight or flight. And that's also what brought on my illness. Being in fight or flight for 15 years, something had to give. Think of a 911. That 911 loves redlining. And you can push it time and time and time again. But if you redline, and you push that 911 and you drive that 911 in the red line zone from Melbourne to Sydney, it will break. And after 15 years, I broke. And Rory said, I don't know if I can do this long term if I see you red line in the capacity of the CEO. That was one. Then there was another occasion when you came into the office and you saw that I was on the cusp of getting back to that type of mentality. And you said, I'm sending you away to Queensland. I've spoken to Charlotte, done this, done that, but you're going away to rest and go on a retreat. And when you come back, you would have avoided a potential error. And that was life-changing as well. So there was two really key moments from two people that I respect greatly, yourself and Rory. And I don't want to let my family down. I don't want to let my colleagues down, clients, but more particularly the people that are with me trying to grow this business, I respect immensely. And they're the two moments that I think have helped me navigate those early moments to now, I believe, become a great CEO.
Love that. Now, we'll dive into some more CEO stuff along the journey. I reckon it'd be good to have a CEO in here on the seat talking to you about that as well, others who've had experience in that realm. Quickly moving into another, you just mentioned 911's redlining. Your love of cars is well known. Anyone who follows you on social media knows you love cars. Old versus new. Take us through your passion for old, but also when I see you step into a new car, there's some little glint in your eye as well. What is it?
I think it's when you're in something old, you know that it's particularly the things that I like, they're made by hand. And when something's handmade, for me, it's above the range. Mm-hmm. It's just got that little bit extra that I know can't be replicated in today's market for the masses. So handmade is something that I personally value a lot.
Yes.
I love anything handmade, home cooked meal, all those sorts of things. And for me, it's the mechanics of it. So when you actually have to drive a car and you don't have ABS and you don't have assisted steering, you don't have all these things that can help you get to your destination, that's actually driving.
But you also like having the mod cottons. Let's be honest. Like,
the phone doesn't start ringing.
You're in a Range Rover right now, so you got like.
Well, the new is different because the new is not handmade, but it's luxurious. So do I love luxury goods? Absolutely. So it's just having that joint appreciation. Now, if you can combine the old school with luxury, well, then you've hit the jackpot.
So when you drive past Mithura in anything else and you see a Range Rover and a Porsche, you must.
It's probably me.
But I'm saying you must feel happy seeing those in the driveway because it's like combining your two loves.
Well, I just love it. Like, there's also something deeper, particularly with Porsche. I mean, family business that ended up growing into what it is now, and such an amazing history. So timeless, so sentimental for so many people around the world. Extremely sentimental for me. So, you know, if you delve a little bit deeper into the brands that you affiliate, you know, your feelings with, I can guarantee there'll always be something in there in that company's history that just resonates with your values. It's not just by fluke that you're attracted to particular brands.
But you're a details person, let's be honest, and so you look deeper into the detail on most things. And potentially more.
No, it's a blessing and a curse.
Well, exactly. I agree with that because I think you sometimes get caught in the detail. However, you do pick up on details, and that's something that, like, I notice with you, with anything that comes across your desk or into this office, it's like, where's this from? Who made it? Where, you know, the origins of things are very important to you.
That's because I think that I was raised to be extremely curious, and if you're curious, then you can really progress your understanding of things. So I was a really curious agent. So people would say, God, I felt like I really connected with you early on. As a younger agent, that curiosity got me so many listings because I wasn't going through flip books and talking about past sales and all these other bits and bobs because I couldn't. I wasn't an experienced agent, but I was so curious with their situation and why they were doing something and what they loved about the property and where they were going and why they were doing that and what's this and I like that. Oh, where'd you get this from? And asking people questions gives them the ability to then feel like they're controlling the direction of the conversation. So for me, that curiosity has helped me on so many areas. And it's why my general knowledge is actually quite good because I've just always asked. There's a book when I was a little kid and the book cover was just why, question mark. Mm-hmm. And my dad used to hate it because every time my mum raised me to always ask why.
Yeah.
And then I'd do the same to my dad because obviously we'd have, you know,
Marty, stop asking why. I don't want to know.
What do you have to ask why for? Well, because fucking mum told me to ask why. So I was just raised to ask why, and I think anyone out there with children should just teach their kids whenever someone's telling them something or trying to put an idea into their minds or whatever it might be, just ask your kids to say, well, why is that?
I love that. I mean, we're both parents of similar age children, and particularly with our kids, our eldest, Ed and Fred, like they're at that age. I don't know about Fred, but Ed's constantly, Dad, hey, why does how do you know if this existed or whatever? That is a beautiful moment because you actually as a parent can hopefully answer it, and if you're not, you can look it up together. Because correct me if I'm wrong, I remember you talking about curiosity of even for young agents walking past houses being painted. Hey, what's going on here? Are they selling? Like those questions can end up becoming very important in your career.
Just be curious. Even if you're not an agent, go into a workplace, find who's doing really well, and just ask them, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Is there anything that I can help you with? Just be useful and be that person that asks the question, not annoyingly, but, if it's relevant, just try and find out why someone's doing something. So then when you've got the opportunity to do it, you know why you're doing it. It's not about just being like mundane and doing the task and just going, oh, the job's done. If you can understand why, it means that you can then teach it very well.
So if you work in the business and there's someone who's very successful, look at that and go, there's a reason why that's going on, and get to the bottom of that.
And the best part about it is those successful people in any of these offices, they actually got to that point of success because they did the basics unbelievably well.
Yeah. So with this, with the Fox, like that natural curiosity is actually a great thing when we've got people coming in. What do you hope to get out of this?
Me, I don't know. It was your idea to do a podcast, and heaps of people have always said do a podcast. So for me, I love talking. Yeah. I love people. Yes. I love a lot of different things. There's nothing that I really hate, other than people that are full of shit and dishonest, and that I really don't like. So don't put anyone in front of me that is.
Do our best
if you can.
Yeah.
Or put them in here. That'd be funny.
Yes.
See how you clash.
Yeah.
But for me, I just want to see where this goes.
I think you also thrive. You thrive in engagement. Like you've always, we've talked about this a lot. Even since before, just as you were starting WHITEFOX, like as you went through that journey, you're someone who shares their journey, likes to share, open with your life. But you found that people engage with that. And I think this is the sort of thing where your connection to your audience is very, very strong. We've noticed that through this business.
Yeah, I find as long as it's uncut and people feel like they're getting some sort of insight, there's always been a lot of interest around the things that I do, even from just a younger, professional. I was always just trying something different, challenging the status quo, finding a way to stand out. Ultimately, a lot of people want to stand out, and even if they're a little bit more subdued in their personality, deep down, they still want to be seen and heard. So there's always a way in which somebody wants to be seen and heard, and how they do it is ultimately the code that they need to unlock for themselves. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to be heard in some way, shape or form. Some more than others, but the code to unlock that for yourself, that's the hard part. And for me, it's being an open book.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's good to get this one underway now. WTF is off and running. And we might start with some guests on the next episode and see where we take ourselves.
Just make sure I don't know who I'm seeing and there's no prep.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time on WTF.